Hey there, Jeff here, and today we are going to continue on creating depth in our mix. And before we start, I've had a couple of emails from subscribers asking me why aren't these videos on YouTube, and the reason why they're not is because I am trying to create kind of a close knit community over at Mission Musician on the blog. And so I will still be putting stuff on YouTube, but my hope and my thought behind this is I want people on the blog who are really interested in this stuff. Now YouTube, there's people who just browse videos and look and that type of thing. What I'm kind of hoping is that the people who are really into this kind of stuff, the recording, the mixing, the mastering, website creation, and marketing and that kind of stuff, that they're going to migrate more towards my site, the Mission Musician site. And I'm also hoping that some of you guys will start commenting and telling me how these things are working out for you, or if you've had an epiphany or discovered something or had a breakthrough, or just want to share some of your knowledge with the other people that are subscribers to Mission Musician. At this time, there's about 300 subscribers. And I've been getting a lot of emails from you guys, which is awesome. I like that. I keep saying you guys. There are some gals too. So I apologize, ladies. But I do keep getting, or I do get emails from you guys, and I just did it again. And I enjoy that. I enjoy hearing your feedback, but I would like to see some of it actually on the blog itself below this video or below any of the other videos that you watched. Because when you start commenting, it encourages other people to comment, and so we can start getting a dialogue going and just kind of talk and chat through the website. And so that is the reason why not all of my videos are over at YouTube, because I am trying to create a community here at Mission Musician for the people who are really serious about this type of stuff. Okay? All right. Let me get started back in on this. Okay, so getting back to part 3, creating depth in our mix. So we're going to talk about using reverb, and reverb is usually the first thing a mixing engineer will grab to create depth in their mix, and rightfully so. It's an easy way to do that. You just throw on a reverb and you have an instant space. But it goes a little bit further than that. When we want to create depth, I like to use different reverbs for different things. For example, I want my drums to sound like they're recorded like in a studio or in a large room or just in a nice space. Now, 9 times out of 10, the drums that I record are not recorded in a nice space. They're recorded in a basement or in my church, one or the other. And in the church, it's awesome because there's a big open sound, but in my basement, I've just got like a 10 by 12 space that I record drums in. And it sounds good. The drums sound good, but they don't sound like they were recorded in a $1 million studio. So my point is, what I'm trying to get to is that I will put a room sound on my drums, but then I'll put like a snare plate or a gated reverb, not a gated reverb from like the 80s. If you were fortunate enough to grow up in the 80s, man, reverb was alive and well in the 80s. But anyway, let me get back on topic here. So I'll put a plate or a gated reverb on the snare to give it an extra sense of space, to make it more prominent, to give it a different tone. So we can use reverbs for that type of thing. Another example is we can use a short. Let me start over. So what I'm trying to say is, the shorter the decay on the reverb, the more upfront the sound will be. The longer the decay, the more push back in a bigger sense of space that instrument or vocal is. For example, the reverb that I use for vocal, the main one that I'll use is a very short reverb. Sometimes it's a very short plate or a very short room, but then I will slide underneath that another reverb that kind of tails, but it's pushed back. So I'm creating a big sense of depth for the vocal by having that up close front reverb, but also blending in a longer reverb down very low, and just it makes the vocal decay out and sound really good. So let me stop talking if I can here. So let me explain the chain here really quick. All I did was create an auxiliary track. These are bypassed, and I've named it Reverb, and I ran it to this auxiliary reverb track, and I have Redline Reverb on here by 123 dB, or I'm sorry, 112 dB, and this is it's a decent reverb. So I got about a 2-second decay. Let's listen to how big and what it does to the vocal when this reverb's on. Let's take a listen here.
For the life of me, I've tried to live by faith and not by eyes.
Now, in a modern mix, that isn't a ballad, I should say. That just wouldn't work. It's just too much. Now, you can blend it in underneath, but let's listen to a short decay reverb. Let's try early reflect. All right, let's listen to this.
For the life of me, I've tried to live by faith and not by eyes.
So that puts the vocal right back up front, but still gives it a sense of space. And I really like using stuff like that first on the vocal, and then I'll maybe put a slap delay on or blend in a longer decaying reverb underneath it. So let me show you some other things that you can do with reverb to control it, to make it sound how you want. And this really works if you're just using stock reverbs. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But you'll need to shape the sound of the reverb, because what I excuse me, what I find often in using stock reverb, and I've used Deverb a ton, which is a stock reverb that comes with Pro Tools, is I really have to EQ it a lot to get it to sound the way that I want it to. But we're going to use a different, we're not talking about EQ in that sense right now. We're going to use a different trick where we're going to roll all the lows and the highs down and see what it does to the reverb. Because remember, in the first series, we talked about rolling off the low end to push things back. So I want you to watch and see what this does to the reverb. Let's see here. So I'll let it roll once with the EQ off, and then I'm going to bring it in.
For the life of me.
Let me put the right reverb on there. Let's just go back with Auditorium, since it's the first one. And let's try that again. I'm sorry. Let's try again.
For the life of me, I've tried.
Now with EQ.
To live by faith and not by eyes. She been baking since this morning. I've been watching as always.
So it takes that reverb and pushes it back away from the vocal just a little bit when you roll it off. All right, so in the first part of this series, we talked about EQ. Now, what happens when we put a compressor on? Let's find out. All I've done is put a fast attack on this and squashed it, and let's listen.
For the life of me, I've tried
Now with the compressor in.
to live by faith and not by eyes.
Isn't that cool? That is so cool. I love this little trick. So it even takes that reverb and pushes it back further. Now you're saying, oh, can't you just lower the volume of the reverb? Yeah, technically you can, but you have way more control with the compressor, and you can affect the release of the reverb using the compressor, and it kind of gives it some cool artifacts. And so what I want you to try to do is open up a mix and just experiment excuse me, just experiment with using different kinds of reverb on one instrument. Just if you want, pick a vocal, try a hall reverb, try a room reverb, try a plate reverb, try whatever presets, just give it a go. Just turn the knobs, see what they do, and then you can try it out in solo. But then also what I really want you to do is listen to what that reverb's doing to, let's say, the vocal, if that's what you're trying it on. Listen to what it does in the context of the mix. Okay? Does it push the vocal back? Does it create a bigger sense of space? Is it overpowering the vocal? One thing that was hard for me to learn when I was first starting out a long time ago, and this is a common mistake I see so many times with people getting into recording and mixing, is we tend to really push that reverb up because we want to hear it. The trick is you want to feel it. You don't want to hear it. You want to feel it. So when you're adjusting your reverb, turn it up to where you can hear it, but then back it back down and bypass it. Just come over here and bypass it and see if you miss it. That's the real trick to setting reverb levels, and I have a video on that. I don't know why I'm going into that now. So, but like I said, I want you to try and experiment with reverb, because it's creating depth takes a two-dimensional mix and gives the illusion of a three-dimensional mix, right? Because you have your bottom, your top, your left, your right, your front, your back. Okay, so it's just like this big cube, and you have to push things around using pan pots, and then using stuff like EQ and compression and reverb to move stuff forward and backwards. Okay, and that's the real trick to it, and it's all just an illusion. But some of the best mixes have that depth in them. One of my favorites is, oh man, Jamie. What is it? Jamie All Over, and I can't even remember the name of the band at the top of my head. But that's like one of my all-time favorite mixes, because I love the sense of space that is used in that mix. So anyway, I'm getting off course here, and this video is getting really long, much longer than I intended. So try some reverb out. Remember, longer decay equals bigger space and pushes stuff back further in the mix. Shorter decay brings stuff up closer, but still gives a sense of space around that particular thing that you're adding it to. And so just try that. Try using a drier, smaller reverb on a vocal, but then blending in some kind of more lush reverb, just a little bit in there, and see what kind of effect that has on it. Now, in the next video, part 4, we're going to be talking about delay and how we can push stuff back using delay. And then we're going to get a little crazy in that video, because I'm going to show you how to push stuff really, really far back in the mix. Okay? So, again, please leave some comments below so we can get some conversation going here on the site. And feel free to ask any questions. Like I said, a lot of you have been emailing me, and that's awesome. I try to get to as many as I can, but I'm not always, but I'm usually on the blog, fooling around, adding content. So I'll see if a comment pops up, and I'll be happy to answer any questions I can there as well. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next part 4 of this series, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.